My father had a bus company, and it was a school bus operation. And as a result of him having this, I ended up getting my CDL when I was 18 years old. Right, the day that I could actually be eligible for a CDL, I got it. And it was because if I was ever home at certain times and he needed a spare driver available, I could kind of jump into the seat and do a little work for him. I thought to myself, I have this CDL license. I should go get a job driving a motor coach, even though my father didn't have any of those, but you'd see these things around thinking, that might be a good thing. So I ended up applying for a company based out of Banff, Alberta called Brewster's Transportation. And I ended up getting the job. I got trained, and there I was driving motor coaches in the Canadian Rockies for this company called Brewster's. So from there, transferring, fast forward, I ended up working with my dad with his company. And the first thing that he did when I joined him was put me in the shop to start pulling wrenches and learn the business from that perspective. And it took a few years, but I kept working him to the point where we finally were able to buy one motor coach. Within a year, we had 4. Within 5 years, we were up to around 13. And we had this really sexy looking fleet that all of a sudden we were starting to get noticed. Drivers were starting to gravitate over to us. And the story just kind of went from there. When we sold the company, when my dad sold the company in 2004, it was over 20 coaches at that time. And I said, I'm really not going to be happy until I get back into a situation where I am in control of how this is going to go and how I feel it needs to be. And so there was an opportunity available to buy TCS. I told him my story, I presented my business plan, and we put together a deal. And then from there, we started. And I knew at that point that, we need to get to work and we need to do everything that, in my mind, was going to make us successful. And we started producing results immediately.
So when we first had TCS, it was a smaller company, family owned, and it was kind of myself and Terry here just kind of hitting it every day. And it felt like we could always touch every part of the business and every employee and every driver. Whenever I get to have a conversation with someone new, it's always just an opportunity to help them feel the passion that I have for the business and our family has for the business. And and I feel like once they get to feel that feeling, then it's, hopefully it can resonate with them in how they perform in their everyday job.
TCS was really starting to gain stride in 2014 and into 2015. And I was at the stage where I needed to hire somebody that was going to be our, head of operations. And I remember Kevin putting up his hand saying that, well, I think I might want that job.
I moved to California to be the Vice President of Operations in 2015. The majority of my career was in the ski industry. My brother and I and my dad, we had a ski resort in Alberta, Canada, and I operated that for 35 years. My time in the ski industry it was multifaceted. You had food and beverage, you had ski patrol, you had ski school, you had trail maintenance, you had equipment maintenance, and of course lifts. But I really enjoyed the operation side of things. It was a really great, near the end of my career, when I could sit there in my office and with a coffee in hand and watch all these different departments work in unison. A lot of work at a ski area is done before 8:30 in the morning. They have to all work together. And it was just, I just really enjoyed seeing all, 30 years of work kind of happening in front of you all at the same time. I kind of want to get that same kind of vibe happening. So, and we've come a long ways over the past 10 years. We got our maintenance department is dialed in. It's industry leading. We have our safety and compliance. We're setting trends there too. We're really trying to be not just the standard, we want to be above the standard. You always have to be looking how to make it better, more efficient.
The drivers are an extension of the sales team. So we can sell, we can build these amazing relationships with everybody and all these clients. And, we could be working with someone for a week to a year and have a great rapport and a relationship and even create a friendship. And then when it comes time for the driver to take over, it's like we are completely relying on them to deliver everything and carry on that same kind of partnership and a nurturing relationship to ensure that everything we've sold happens when they're out on the road.
Kat is such a great representation. She's always out there with a smile. Terry's been in the business for so long that he knows every aspect. And Kevin's so, task-oriented and operations-oriented that safety is first. And I think that's a big part of our thing is our TCS, our safety. We get awards for our safety and compliance. And we have great support. We hire good people that support that vision, because that's important when they support the vision. If they see the vision, I think it's easy to follow in and to step in line or support it. But if they don't see the vision, and I think that's sharing the vision is probably the biggest thing, is having the meetings, having the kudos go out to our staff when they do well, and that's, I think that's important.
All I was doing was trying to just run our race, ski our line and just build our business. And as part of it, you can build your business two ways. You can do it organically, or you can do it through acquisitions. And there was some acquisitions opportunities that came about, and it wasn't anything that nobody ever backed me into a corner. It was a matter of, does this make sense? And can we do this deal? And when I asked myself those questions and the answer was yes, then we moved forward. And it's proved to be a very, very successful venture for us as we've moved forward.
So now that we have 3 brands, we would like to take the TCS systems and processes and kind of make sure that we are delivering the same level of service across all 3 brands.
I think the most important thing about TCS is our sense of family. I keep coming back to that.
I think that's one of our strong points, is that we are a family business, and we've had so many clients over the years that just say, oh, I like that. I like working with family businesses, because they feel like, I don't know, there's a different level of care or connection to it. And so, there's kind of like no part that any of us wouldn't touch or do or help out in. And so that's what, it's kind of like all hands on deck, is whereas Terry would drive, or Kevin and Tracy are out washing buses. And if we need something that's happening, it's like, oh my gosh, we just sold a trip. And okay, what do we have to do to get this ready? And so it's always kind of like everybody working together as like a family would do. So, and I think that the drivers like that it's family, and I feel like that carries forward. And even we often refer to drivers, it's like, oh, when a client might say, I had a great experience with this driver, I was like, oh, such an awesome member of our family. And that's how we really do view everybody that works here.
So here we have it. We have all these people, us as family, working together. And family, it's one of those things where you just do it because you have to. It's not one of these things where it's not your job. It's that this is part of who we are, and we want to succeed. But then it also becomes a matter of responsibility. These people that come to us and want to work for us, now I feel a sense of responsibility that, they have put their faith in us that they're going to come over here and have, make a living and have a successful career path. And I have to uphold that as well. We all have to uphold that. And so it's a matter of, risk management and making sure that we're protecting our assets and our people and the company, and not letting anything happen, making sure we have enough business to keep everybody busy. These are the things that all, that we wake up every day and worry about, because people have come here and we have to fulfill. And yet at the same time, in order for us to fulfill, they have to perform. So it's kind of a big, it's a big, catch-22 in a sense. And how I look at it, and how I often say this when I describe it, is that I look at our company as, most companies have a hierarchy, and ours is like this, where I actually sit at the very bottom of the triangle, at the bottom of it, because you have your front line, and then every layer below the front line supports that front line. And I sit at the very, very bottom of that. And so this isn't all about me, it's all about us working up the line to support our front line and the product that we put out on the road.